Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How are you doing? Apologies for the delay in this episode. I have been very unwell actually and struggling to get back to work. So first of all today, I wanted to let you know about some changes with the podcast. Now, as you guys know, this year has been quite a year for me. The lessons have come thick and fast. And one of the things that keeps coming up for me from Spirit is surrender. And I'm rubbish at it. Absolutely freaking pants. And I've realised recently that one of the things that they're asking me to surrender with is this podcast. And I'm very conscious that I have got trapped in the content for content's sake kind of scenario, which is everywhere. It's on social media, and I've really pulled back from social media in the last couple of months because I realised how toxic that mentality is to me. And I've realised that I've been doing it with this podcast too, putting myself in lots of pressure to create and make and do. And I think I've been incredibly lucky that overall the quality of the podcast I still feel is good. But I'm also conscious that I don't want that to drop. So I'm going to be taking a break now from the podcast, and it's going to evolve again. So I'm not sure yet about the energy readings, whether I'm going to be doing week ahead ones, month ahead ones, what I'm going to be doing, or any at all in 2024. But I am aware that the podcast itself is going to take on a slightly different format. It's going to be, when I come back, and I don't know when that's going to be, it's going to be more of sort of a season is going to be less episodes and then released, and then there'll be a period of time off, and then there'll be a build up to another season, rather than this commitment of doing 2 a week, high low high water, which has been great, but I just don't want to lose the quality. I want to stay aligned. I want to stay true. So that's where we're going with this. So probably the next episode you get from me, fingers crossed, will actually be me giving you the intro to my book, which should hopefully be out early next year. And working through that. That is the dream. So we'll keep those fingers crossed. I wanted to just touch once more, please don't fall asleep, on physical mediumship today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about lessons in pop culture, and we'll see where we go as we draw another season and another year to a close. I also wanted to look a little bit at what I have learnt this year. But before I delve into all of that, I wanted to just let you know at the moment of recording this, I have had a cancellation for January's spiritual experience retreat. In fact, 2 cancellations from a regular attendee who's sadly got some stuff coming on with their family, so can't come. So if you would like to come along and stay for 3 nights in January from the 25th to the 28th in a lovely hotel, and have 10 sessions with me, hang out with other like-minded people, have your own private ensuite bedroom and eat loads of delicious food, then please do drop me an email and we will send you the booking link. So that's that. Okay, so just tying up physical mediumship for now. Again, I just want to reiterate, because this seems to be the bit that everybody is struggling with. I do believe in physical mediumship. I do. I've seen lights flash. I used to hear voices calling me when I was a child. I'm aware of some aspects of it, but I think that some aspects of it perhaps are fake. And some people contacted me and said, did you mean this person was fraudulent? Did you mean that person was fraudulent? And I'm not going to say, because who am I? I am not judge, jury and executor. I don't know for a fact. Everybody delivers everything through their own filter. And so therefore, it could be that they were faking intentionally. It could be that they were doing something else. The one thing I will say is somebody did send me one of the people that I had seen with the videos of them online fraudulently doing it. And in this video, he's supposed to be tied to a chair in his container, and he comes out of the cabinet, as it's called. It appears to be a tent, out of the cabinet, and he takes off his clothes and he swings clothes around to create a breeze so that people feel a breeze in this pitch black room. And his comment on that, sadly, is that he didn't do that. Spirit did it. Because obviously Spirit didn't know it was being recorded because they're just a bit dopey, or they knew it was being recorded and they thought it would really help everything to be caught acting fraudulently. And that I find that more disappointing than the act itself, in honesty. If he had said, you know what, it was a really tough night and I wasn't feeling great, and I could feel that the audience needed something to get them into belief mode so that we could get other things to happen, that would have made more sense to me than Spirit did it and I don't remember it. Just do better, people. So, yeah, it's an ongoing journey. And I had a really interesting conversation with somebody who I won't out as having this conversation with me, but I thought it was fascinating when they asked me if maybe they believe in it because it's part of their journey, and I don't believe in it because it's not part of mine. And we backed and forth on this, and I spoke to Spirit about it, and I think it's quite interesting to think about. I think beliefs they evolve and grow and change and shift. I don't believe that we come here for a certain belief system. Now, I believe that there's perhaps aspects of belief that create the experience our soul has chosen. For example, if you decide to incarnate with an incredibly religious family or a racist family or whatever else, whatever is happening in your life. But then, of course, there is the option to evolve through and past these things. Just because you're brought up in a religious family doesn't mean that you will remain religious. We know lots of people that walk away from faith. My grandmother walked away from Catholicism quite late in her life. So we know that there is an evolution there. So I don't believe that beliefs are static. But I do believe that there are aspects of us that perhaps make it a harder thing to move and shift and change. And this is what I've said to you guys on the podcast this year. I know that part of my questioning nature is a really important part of me. I wish that I could just accept things and not suck all the fun and joy out of them and all the magic out of them by wanting to know the how and the why and the who. But I am who I am. And there's a purpose in that. So there we go. So I'm still hoping at some point that I will get to go to see a physical mediumship demonstration with somebody that isn't fraudulent and have my mind blown, because I would love it. I would love it. I also want to talk to you about culture, pop culture, because if you've been following this podcast since the beginning, you will know that I had Peter Breeze on the podcast and I was on his Superficial Spirit. And his whole shtick is talking about the crossover between pop culture and spirituality. And one of the reasons he had me on his podcast is because I have always maintained that at a period of time when I was going through a big awakening, not my first awakening, but one of the ones that happened afterwards, RuPaul's Drag Race was absolutely instrumental to me on my journey. And the reason for that is when you are doing mediumship, you face yourself. The journey to spirit is not the floaty, fun journey into an altered state where you get to chill with a bunch of angels. The spiritual journey is actually, the mediumship journey is actually pushing through your own resistance, your lack of self-belief, your doubts, your fears, your belief system about yourself. It's pushing through all of that and finding spirit on the other side of it. And RuPaul's Drag Race was great for me because I really got into it. It was over lockdown, and that was when I started getting a bigger reach on social media and more people found me, and I wrote my first online courses and everything started changing. And watching drag queens lose their spark and lose their light because they couldn't overcome their own fear was an incredibly profound lesson for me. I remember some of the queens that I really liked who had such great personalities, and they just fell apart under the pressure of it and lost the essence of who they were. And that was such a great lesson for me. And recently I've been really noticing some messages and things coming through with me, to me. So first of all, I wanted to talk to you. Britney Spears' book. Have you listened to it? Have you read it? I got it in audiobook from Audible and I loved it. I listened to it in 24 hours. But what a incredible journey. And really, when I've been questioning a lot recently about life and how much we manifest and how much is predestined and what our soul chooses and how that all sort of layers and interweaves to create the existence that you're in, her one is fascinating because there are things that are absolutely done to her, completely out of her control. And it's quite an incredible life her soul is having, and a difficult one, no doubt, but absolutely fascinating to listen to through the filter of what we believe and what we know to be true. So I highly recommend listening to that. And as you guys know, I love trashy TV. I love it. And I am very much into Selling Sunset. And this season in particular, if you haven't watched it yet, you might want to skip this bit of blather, but has been absolutely fascinating to me about boundaries. So Selling Sunset's about real estate in LA. Is it about real estate in LA? I don't know. It's a bit like if you imagined your Barbie when you were a kid having a job as a real estate agent and going to mansions and walking around them in her heels. I love it for so many reasons, but none of it can be described as highbrow. But it's easy. Anyway, one of the main characters, the main character, I'd probably say, Chriselle, it's followed her journey. Now, when she first joined Selling Sunset, she was a very green real estate agent. She'd been through a lot. Her husband then left her. There was loads of stuff that she went through, and she has now met and married her partner, G-Flip. And it's been quite an amazing journey. Now, what has happened to Chriselle through that journey is she has had to do the inner work. She has had to face herself. She has had to face her doubt. She has had to look at her self-worth. And it's been quite a miraculous thing to watch. And then this season, Chriselle is pissed off. And it really reminded me of what happened to me when I started activating my boundaries due to my self-worth. Because not only are you're really shifting, and everybody around you sees you as they've always seen you because that's who you were, and you've changed and you've grown and you've shifted, and everybody has to meet you again, but people don't. So people come along and you've gone through this absolute phoenix rising through the flames energy, and you are not the same person that you were, but everybody else didn't get the memo. And so when they try the same shit that they tried last time, you are furious. You cannot, because it is like being slapped around the face. You've done all this work. You've realised what you've given and how you've let people take advantage. And all of a sudden they're trying to do it again, but you are not the same. And she does go too angry in places, but nobody's perfect. Boundaries are not perfect. We don't get to a place where we are strong in ourselves and everything is aligned without kind of going too far the wrong way and then having to right ourselves again. It's just trying to find that balance. But one of the things I thought was really interesting in it from a spiritual perspective was what everybody else did as a result of it. So we had the conversations behind her back about how she's changed. Like that was a bad thing. I don't know who she is anymore. Well, meet her again, sit down, find out what's going on with her, ask her, but they don't. They just, and we have this human thing, don't we? We don't like change. Humans don't like change. We don't. It's uncomfortable to us. But again, watching people experiencing her change and the shift that she has done, but equally taking it very personally and judging the heck out of it, was a really good reminder of what it's like when you go on a spiritual journey and you suddenly start saying no to things and you start biting back when people are rude to you and you start pushing and reinforcing your boundaries and what you're willing to accept and what you're not, and how personally people take that. And the other thing that they do is they had this whole thing where they kept saying we're a family. They're a group of work colleagues and they're saying we're a family, we stick together in this family, we are a family, trying to get her to put herself in positions that she didn't want to be in. And she was clearly telling them she didn't want to be in. And I found that just fascinating. Some people got angry, some people slagged her off, and some people tried the mega guilt trip. We are a family. We are a family. You don't treat your family like this. And it was so fascinating to me because there was one dinner that was put on by her employers and everybody that's on the show. And she and her friend decided not to go to it. And people were so offended that she decided it was a toxic environment for her. And the interesting thing was, in that toxic environment, they then behaved super toxically. So when she then saw them again, they were all having a go at her. And I thought, well, there you go. You've just proven to her if she had turned up, you'd all have had a go at her. But it was a really good reminder to me that it doesn't matter what you do. People can love you very much, but still find your boundaries and your new, this is my line and you may not cross it, deeply personally offensive. And if you said to them, you don't want the best for me, they would say, of course I want the best for you. I love you. And they would believe that. But in the moment when they are watching you put a boundary in, or being on the receiving end of it, of you not turning up to a dinner where there's 8 to 10 other people, so you're not on your own, but how offensive people can find that kind of thing. And I sat there and watched it on my own with my spirit guides. And I was just like, what the frick is this? And it was really mind-blowingly educational to me. So there you go. And of course, I need to touch on Twin Flames, Escaping Twin Flames universe on Netflix. Now, I personally, and you may have heard me say this before, don't believe in twin flames. I never have. I think it's a romanticised, weird Disney version of things. I, as I said in the Life episode, believe that our souls separate into many, many different sort of parts, places, experiences. So I don't believe I'm a half and there's another half of me somewhere else, because I think that I am the multi-soul. I'm like a massive mirror that's been hit with a sledgehammer that's going to continue to crack into shards for infinity. There's not just two parts, but anyway. One of the things that I have really experienced in my journey as a medium has been the desire for people to be fixed by romantic love. And I don't believe in romantic love. I believe in love. I'm really trying not to sing. I believe in a thing called love. I do. I believe in love. But nobody who is in a relationship says this has been completely easy. Everybody faces difficulties and challenges, because part of this simulation in which our souls find ourselves is the idea of cohabiting with somebody, financially tying yourself to somebody. I mean, I met my husband when I was 21. We got married when we were 24. So at 24, technically, I signed a contract that wrote off the rest of my life with my husband. And in the many years that have followed that, we have had good times and we have had absolutely shockingly terrible times. And by our own choice and also circumstance and also luck, we are still together. But there are so many different aspects of it. And I am not the same person I was when I was 24. 24-year-old Hannah didn't even really know if the spirit world existed. And now spirituality and mediumship is a part of me. It's not just a belief system, it's the essence of who I am. And so my husband's had to come on quite a journey with that with me. And yet we have people out there that sell the twin flame thing. Escaping Twin Flame universe is an escalated view of it. It's clearly a cult. It's clearly a cult. And people that are susceptible to cults will be susceptible to anything like that. But even within that, I still see people, I've seen people on social media saying, I'm not a cult leader, but I do believe in twin flames. And again, it's only opinion, it's only belief. I just don't believe in something so disempowering that you would choose to come here and incarnate with one soul out there that will complete you. And that is your twin flame. Now, twin flame universe, it goes dark. They get people to have gender reassignment so that they can be the feminine and masculine energies. And it's, I mean, get the popcorn, watch it. It's mind-blowing. But it's also part of the problem with spirituality that's out there is there's a real, I mean, not with everybody, obviously, but there's a real lack of realism. You know, if you're doing your investigation into mediumship and you come across twin flame stuff, are you not just going to go, what the frick? Is it going to convince you? I don't know. So I found it fascinating to watch. I found it even more fascinating to see the different commentaries on social media as a result of it. And this is the thing, only you can decide. I believe in soul families. So I believe that there are lots of different souls on this planet at this time who have agreed to come and teach me, show me, inspire me, frustrate me. And none of them complete me, but they all help play a part of completing the journey that my soul wanted to have. And it's not as simple as there's one right for you and one wrong for you. Friendships. I had this friendship with a friend that I know I've mentioned on the poddy before, and I loved her. I absolutely felt like that we were meant to be friends. And I have used loved here because this is past tense, because I absolutely adored her. And she taught me some of my hardest and most difficult lessons. Partly because I didn't put any boundaries in and I became like a lapdog. And that triggered a lot of that stuff for me about how I want friendships to look. But it was a really valuable lesson. And lots of lessons, and very painful but good lessons for who I am now. I had a friend who I was really close to who always came to me whenever they had problems but never asked how I was. And when I first started working with Spirit, they just said to me, just don't message her and ask how she is. Don't check in and see how long it takes her to message you and see how you are. And that's probably been 5 years. And I'm sure from her point of view, she's like, oh, I never see you anymore. I don't know where she went. Well, I'll tell you where I went. Nowhere. I just waited for you to message me and you never did. So really valuable lessons that don't just come in from romantic partners, but come in from everybody in your life. So it's fascinating to watch, Escaping Twin Flames universe, horrifying to watch. Does somehow make you feel a little bit depressed of, oh God, no wonder most people hate mediums. It's really bloody hard. But interesting to see and to make you aware of what it's like out there. So I just had to stop for my 12th cough break of this recording. Isn't it fun? And I'm just going to finish here by talking about lessons learnt this year. Now, as I mentioned in the month ahead reading, I personally do believe that 2023 was a massive learning year for all of us. And I'm sure if you look back at your experiences in 2023, you will see, I think so many of us have been through the tower en masse this year and we all thought we'd been through towers before, but actually it turns out we'd only had the top floor demolished, and this time we've had the entire building smashed to smithereens. And I hope that next year will be about rebuilding it, but it's definitely been difficult. But even in that difficult energy, I have learnt so much. The Mediumship Matters Spiritual School is thriving. I am just bloody loving teaching the students on it. We've got such a great group of people. We've got fantastic teachers. We're looking for more teachers, so if you're interested, drop me an email and let me know. Just a really, really great space with great people that I'm incredibly proud of. And within that, I've had a lot of learning about... I'm definitely one of those people that has to learn as I go and experiment and then work out what works for me and what doesn't. And I've definitely spent a large proportion of this year sort of adjusting, amending, analysing, fiddling with, putting it back together. So that's been brilliant. I'm really, really proud of that. My demonstrations have certainly got better. My mediumship has got better. My presentation style, I finally feel like I've settled into the medium I want to be and how I want my nights to feel and go. Doesn't mean I'm always going to get them like that, but I have a closer idea of that, and I'm very grateful. And of course, within that, I have had the lesson that I was pushing it too hard, and maybe social media is not the be-all and end-all for getting ticket sales. So that's been a valuable, if not painful, lesson, but something that I have really, really learnt this year. And because I've been writing my book, I've also had a lot of analysis about mediumship and how I think it works. And it's been really great because my book is for people who haven't got any experience, who want to know the basics. The idea is that somebody could say, I want to be a medium, and pick up that book and learn the theories and the mechanics of the basics of it. I'm hoping to do a more advanced one when I can face it. And that's been fascinating to work through that and realise my teaching's got better because I've realised how much I am afraid of repeating myself. And so that fear of repeating myself sometimes means that I don't give the basics because I'm assuming everybody knows. So that's been a really good evolvement in me through doing that book, and my lovely editors who have sort of said, well, you haven't explained the basics of that, you've just leapt in straight away with that, and me realising that I need to do it better, I guess, and not be afraid to take a moment to cover things from the basics again. I've also had that realisation this year that yep, there are people that don't like me. And that is unfortunately part of the process of changing things. If you try and evolve things and shift things and change things, people won't always appreciate that. You're making them uncomfortable. And so it still makes me sad, but it's been a really good year for realising that all those people that I've been waiting for their acceptance and waiting for their approval are not the right ones. They're not the people I should be waiting for the approval from. And I've learnt that through old friends through mediumship, old teachers through mediumship, who have rejected me in various ways, but also through my whole experience with publishing. I'm really wanting to be seen and accepted, and understanding that I'm going to have to see and accept myself, which is a work in progress, no doubt. So I feel like there's been really good foundations built this year. Everything got obliterated, but when I rebuild in 2024, it's definitely going to look very different for me. And I have a newfound appreciation for my life. And I know that I've mentioned to you guys before about my migraines, and I have really tried not to go on about it too much, but I have really been struggling. I've been losing about 2 weeks of every month with migraines, and it's been absolutely horrendous. And I'm trying a new medication, and that's been a big risk for me, because although I feel in my heart that spirit will still find ways to communicate with me, there is of course that fear that in taking a big proper medication, it's going to change how my brain operates and maybe cut me off. But I also cannot carry on the way that I am. And just like with the red wine from giving up alcohol, there has been this appreciation for just my life, appreciating how it is to be able to cook dinner for my family and watch Schitt's Creek with my daughter. And I'm incredibly grateful for that, because I think somewhere along the line, with my focus on mediumship, because I love it so, I lost that. So I'm very grateful to be going into 2024 with that clarity of, yeah, my mediumship's important, but I'm important too. And my family is important too. I'm feeling really excited about that. So it's all shift and change. And also, I have a little theory that perhaps people, I don't know if, it seems to be a lot of people that work with spirit that get migraines. I don't know if there's some sort of, it could just be that it's incredibly stressful, because it is. But I don't know if there's something in that it does something to you. So it's been a big year, really. Not successful in terms of following, in terms of money, but incredibly successful in terms of development, of clarity, of boundaries, and of the foundations for next year. So I will see you all at some point when I feel aligned to record episodes and I feel inspired, and I cannot wait to see what season 5 brings. Thank you all so much for listening, sharing, asking. Please do keep those questions coming. There's nothing I like more than your questions helping me get clarity on the answers. So please do send them in, and I will see you all soon. Lots of love.